Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Living Life, a Life View. I am your co-host, Dr. Veronica Garcia, on this special series of research.
And I'm your co-host as well, Erin Gilligan, and today we are here with Dr. Christie Kwon. Hello, Dr. Kwon.
Hi.
Hi, Dr. Kwon. How are you doing today?
To be here with both of you.
And we're super excited to have you. And I was just telling her before we started recording that I'm super excited to have you specifically because I think I met you on your first week of working at the university. When did you start working at the university?
Well, I went to school here. I was in the DC program from 2007 until 2011. Mm-hmm. I started teaching at the university in 2012. So it's been some time. Yes. Yeah, we go way back.
Oh my goodness, we've been here for a long time now that you say it
I
like
know,
that.
Right? I know.
2012.
I have not been here that long.
That was like yesterday, right?
Was it though? Was it? So Dr. Kwon, you are a professor in the university in the chiropractic program, but you're also a part of the research team. Is that correct?
That's correct. I'm the research chair for the College of Chiropractic.
Get that right. Get the research chair for the College of Chiropractic. Go ahead.
That's great. And so what kinds of programs and duties do you oversee as research chair of the College of Chiropractic?
A little bit of everything that relates to research and scholarly activity. Primarily, the goal is to support faculty and staff, as well as students, in their endeavors to engage in research and scholarly activities. Can run the gamut of everything from traditional kind of bench research with a microscope and lab coat, as well as clinical research in chiropractic, educational research, all kinds of things. So I chaired the Research Advisory Council, and we oversee funded projects for faculty or staff-led projects. Might involve students as well. So funding to get them the equipment that they need, as well as other things associated with the project. We also oversee some student scholarship opportunities through a program called RISE. That's Research Innovation, Service, and Education. So it doesn't just have to be traditional research. Students can apply for those scholarships quarterly. And then we also oversee a student travel budget. So if a student is accepted to present at a conference, we help support their travel costs there. And then I also work on the research track, which is a special program. So RISE is open to all of the colleges and all of our students in undergraduate, graduate, and chiropractic programs. Research track is specific to the chiropractic program. This is a small group of students who really dedicated to research and are planning to publish before they graduate. And so we oversee a program for them to do their chiropractic research through that as well.
So your to-do list is not full at all. It's
No.
pretty empty.
Yeah.
That calendar is
And then
blank.
just recording podcasts in my free time.
Right.
Of course.
We'll make that more of a regular thing, yeah. And so can you tell us more about what advice you would give to students who want to get started in research but maybe never have before, might have questions?
Yeah. Well, I always ask a student, what are you interested in, right? What is your real passion? What is the thing you want to know more about? What do you want to feel very certain and confident in when you graduate and you're seeing patients and patients ask you, what is chiropractic all about? What can chiropractic do for me? What do you want to be able to say, well, I've experienced this. I've researched this. I know a lot about this question. I've been able to answer it. So I want them to start there and start with their passion, because there's a tendency for students to feel like, well, I have some interest in research, but I don't really know what I want to do. And I'd be happy to just do a project with Dr. Veronica because I like her and I like her energy. And if she's interested, I'm probably interested too. Maybe, maybe not. That might not be the best fit for you. And research can be really daunting and kind of grueling if you're not really interested.
Yep.
And it can be even if you are really interested. And so the more that you have a real passion for that question, the better, like just more fulfilling experience it's going to be. If you're going to dedicate your time when you're already really busy as a student in any of our programs, then I'd love for you to answer that question for yourself, do a little soul searching, and then do a little bit of research on the internet, see what's available out there, and see how you can better answer that question for us.
That's really good.
And I think that's the great point, is that the questions that you ask in the research setting really kind of guide you and provide that link to that passion and that curiosity that really informs your research decisions. So I'm just curious, on a personal level, what were some of the questions that have driven your own personal research in the past? Or your favorite question, your first question?
Well, I've had a lot of questions. I think I knew from a pretty young age that I was really interested in STEM fields. And so I've always been interested in research science. In middle school, high school, I was always involved in research programs and science classes. And so I've always kind of had my hand in that. Frankly, through college and even my first master's degree, I'd not been asked what my research question was. So I really was that student who was going through the process of working with really amazing researchers and having great experiences, but feeling no real passion for that research question. It wasn't until I found myself here as a DC student that I was given the opportunity to carve my own path in terms of research and what interests me. One of the areas that's really interesting me is just really simply the future of chiropractic and the impact of chiropractic care over a lifetime. I think that, it's important for everyone, but certainly our babies, young kids, they have the most opportunity to thrive through that developmental stage. And so I have a lot of interest in that area. And I was able to pursue some projects related to that. And I'm still working now with the student as her advisor on a project that tries to help answer that question. The other thing that I'm really just interested in is what is our impact on the world and what is our need for it? I had the opportunity to complete a second master's degree, a master's in public health, just a couple of years ago at Emory. And I was able to complete, all that free time, like I said. So in that, I was able to do both a practicum as well as a thesis project. And I was able to learn a lot about how to do research, how to collaborate with other researchers from other disciplines in that process, and also look at examining data from, large scale data on chiropractic and try to answer more of that question of just, how do we fit into the landscape of overall public health and prevention and healthy lives and all those kinds of things. So I'm really interested in that kind of question now and looking more at just the epidemiology of how Life University's vision of health fits into the greater landscape of the population. Yeah,
that's really interesting. It's really beautiful because we continue to see that growth of chiropractic and kind of becoming it more, I like to call us disruptors to what the norm was and creating what a new norm is, right? That the acceptance becoming mainstream, but to become mainstream as a science, we need things to back it up. Right. Yeah. Where do you think that the chiropractic research right now is lacking so that we can build that up?
I think just generally a vested passion for it. We're one of these professions that doesn't have a lot of infrastructure for people to do research. So even our students who are most dedicated to research, that's not going to be a full-time job, right? For the most part, it's not a career track. We're mostly focused on the practitioner. So creating those avenues, creating more opportunities so that it's not something we're just doing in our quote unquote free time, but also doing as a really supported role and creating more avenue for exploration. Obviously, that comes with things like infrastructure and funding, money being put forth to answering these questions. And then I think there's a whole host of questions that we could answer that haven't been answered yet. We also have a lot of research that's been done, but it's kind of old now, right? It's 15, 20 years old. It's a great study. And it's really ready for us to re-examine and just kind of look at one more time. So I'd love to see some of that happen.
Yeah.
One of the things we've talked about on this podcast prior is just that there are ways to identify what's lacking in the literature currently, ways to say, well, there's a chance for me as a researcher to add to that literature. So I think that's very exciting to know that, even though some of the literature might be outdated, there's that chance to revamp the conversation, revitalize it. And I think that's really exciting. So it's a great kind of long-term look at the way things are going in the chiropractic conversation. So.
What has been your experience with teaching in what quarters do you teach in the DC program?
I currently teach in 4th, 9th, and 13th. Okay. And then I also teach an undergraduate public health lecture.
Gotcha.
The 300 level science. So I've been very fortunate. I've seen some students go from sort of that pre-DC final year of their undergraduate experience, and I get to see them in their first year, their second year, and their third year, and see them kind of fully evolve and see what they've become. And I was always like just so impressed.
Yeah.
They grow up.
They grow up, graduate, have licenses, all the things.
Yeah, all the things, yeah.
So what would you say would be maybe a piece of advice? Because like you said, or at least from my perspective as a student, when someone told me research, I was like, oh my God, how many papers do I have to read? And how many papers do I have to not read, but digest and understand and kind of regurgitate back? But it's so much beyond that, right?
Yeah.
So what are some of those, I guess, with the DC program, how are those classes established to prepare them for doing research if and they choose to?
Yeah. So I know that not everyone is going to be a researcher. I don't expect that of everyone, whether it's the DC program or within our CGUS programs as well. But we are all in some way consumers of research.
Yeah.
Even if it's simply something like looking at a Yelp review to decide if you want to go to dinner at a new restaurant, right? So I think that the thing that I'd like students to come out of our programs is the ability to critically evaluate information and understand what is high value information versus low value information, and be able to say something beyond like, I just don't like this. I don't think that this is good. I don't like the way that it reflects on my profession, but be able to put some meat to that. So that's the skill set that I really want students to have. So in those 3 courses, the first course lays the groundwork for recognizing what is research versus other perhaps scholarly activities or journalistic publications that speak to research activities, being able to delineate between those, and then understanding some of the language, like you said, when you're reading research, like, oh, well, they have a p-value and an intraclass correlation coefficient, so it must be good. Right? This is cool. This is good.
Checks the box.
And you're like, I have no idea what they just said. So having a little bit of understanding of what those things mean without becoming experts in biostatistics, because no one wants to do that.
Sorry to the experts.
And then in the second class, understanding how to design a research proposal and what are some of the regulations surrounding designing research studies based on understanding what constitutes research. And within that, we have a discussion about the reason why ethical research is really important and some of the history of unethical research and the problems it's created for future researchers. So understanding some of that. And then in their final class with me, they have the opportunity to do a real deep dive into the literature on a topic that's of interest to them, and just being able to have ability to demonstrate their own information literacy, so ability to access information and critically evaluate that information, as well as to understand some context. So I look at it kind of as a capstone opportunity to look at everything they've learned over the past 13 quarters in terms of basic sciences, all the ologies, the anatomy, the physiology of the human body, how the body works, and then looking at that evidence base and seeing, based on what I know about the philosophy, science, and art of chiropractic, what I understand about how the human body works, here's how I can piece it together and have a conversation with someone and say, this is how chiropractic can help you. And I think that that's really the goal of those 3 classes weaved together. But ultimately, whether in the chiropractic program or not, there's no research topic on this earth that's been studied to completion. We're still even trying to understand gravity, right? It's just from a different context from the basic ideas of Sir Isaac Newton. So whatever is your passion, whatever is your interest, it's worth asking some more questions about it.
Yeah. So what are some more ways in which you feel like Life University provides resources for students outside of the classroom in order to do research and promote asking those kinds of questions?
I certainly have my bias because I attended school here and I also work here now as a research chair, but I think we have a lot of opportunities. And I think one of our strengths is the diversity of opportunity as well as the diversity of community that we have here. We have a lot of different people with a lot of different interests, a lot of different academic programs. I think there's a lot of opportunity for cross collaboration. So for those who want to seek out those opportunities, they're really quite endless. And we could look at maybe the role of things like what we're learning in the sports health science programs and then the nutrition programs, as well as psychology and how those all kind of fit together in people's healthcare decision making for their own lives, as well as for their families, and then how the chiropractic profession fits into that conversation. I think there's really opportunity there, not to mention, the literal opportunities in the context of things like work, study, rise, and the research track.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then your own collaborations, what have they looked like and how have they helped you answer those questions?
Yeah. I think there's a lot to be learned in teamwork, just in and of itself.
Yeah.
A lot of self-reflection, and kind of evaluating your own communication skills. So that's been really great for me. I am, imagine like I'm a very analytical person, and I know that arises you. I'm also pretty type A, and I like to be very organized. And I tend to be very I'm just going to go ahead and take care of this. I'm just going to go do it so that I know that it's done, and I know that it's done the way that I want it to be done. And I think that collaborating on a research team has really kind of helped me evolve myself and kind of have more patience and learn how to work in that team and just get more feedback and delegate things that need to be delegated. So that's something that I've definitely learned. I've also kind of in recent times mentoring students over the past few years, really kind of learn to meet them where they are at. And they are all coming from different backgrounds as far as their research experience. I've had students who are so passionate and so interested in a research question and have zero experience. And I've also had students who have a lot of research experience and maybe are even a little bit jaded from that because they've spent a lot of time answering other people's research questions. And they're not really sure how to make a project theirs.
Wow, just got goosebumps. Wow, that's a powerful one. Yeah.
So, it's like, well, why do you want to collect the information? Like, I don't know. I just feel like I should. You could, but you should want that information if you're asking for it, right?
Yeah.
So those are some really kind of valuable lessons for me.
And I think thinking about collaboration in terms of the mentorship that you provide to the students who are going through research in the RISE or research track programs, I think that's just a beautiful thing to show that, that symbiosis between faculty and students. And I think, again, as we've been talking about, students who come in not having any research experience, looking to people who have quite a bit, and figuring out how to work with it and answer the questions they have about the world. So I think that's a great place to be.
Yeah. I agree. I'm excited. I'm excited for the development of the research in every area of life, quite honestly, because not only Life University, but, life. Because like you said, we have questions, they need to get answered, and there's always growth in research. So really excited. Thank you for everything that you do for our students. Thank you for sticking around and still being here. Thank you for being a mentor to myself, for teaching me research as well. I'm really appreciative of all the things that you've done and all the things that you continue doing. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you for being my colleague on the Research Advisory Council and being a great research chair for the COC.
Yeah, and being a co-author on a recent research project
is
as
true.
well.
I forgot about that. I always forget
You
about
kept
that one.
that one to yourself.
I was holding that one back for speech.
I get it, Pop.
Sorry.
Alrighty. Well, thank you for spending some minutes from your really busy schedule with us today. Always welcome back at any time, and hope you have a really good rest of your quarter.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kwon.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you on the next episode of Living Life Alive for You. This is your special series in research. Bye.
Bye.